Thanks once again for the welcome. We are ready for the meeting.
Okay, I think we're good to start. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to our valued audience and speakers, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the highly anticipated YALDA webinar, Africa Cup of Nations, or AFCON 2025, Uniting Nations Through Football and Promoting Intra-Africa Tourism. My name is Abinaida Chaseva from Zambia, and I am part of the YALDA External Media team. I'll be your moderator for this evening, and it's my pleasure to run you guys through this discussion. So before we start, let's go through a few housekeeping rules. First of all, when you enter, make sure that you are on mute, and you have to remain mute throughout the webinar, and also just make sure that you ensure your camera is off. So we are doing that to make sure that we are respecting everyone, because with your cameras on, that's a lot of data consumption, and data is very expensive here in Africa. Another thing, make sure that you type your questions and comments in the chat box only. And when you do that, please make sure you indicate your name and the country you're coming from. And for those whose questions or comments will be selected, you'll be asked to unmute and speak. So that's the only time you'll be allowed to unmute and speak. And if you are asked to speak, you have to make sure that, again, like you will be doing in the comment section, you introduce yourself by name and country only. And please make sure that you repeat the question twice, just so that our speakers can get it. That's the same comment or question you would have already typed in the chat box. Okay, I hope that's clear. So I'll quickly introduce our webinar today. So every 2 years, Africa comes alive with the energy, pride, and unity of the Africa Cup of Nations, or the AFCON. And the 2025 tournament, which is kicking off on 21 December 2025, will offer more than exciting football. It will highlight the power of sport to drive social change, strengthen community cohesion, and inspire the next generation of leaders. AFCON provides a unique platform to showcase African talent, celebrate cultural diversity, and promote values of teamwork, fair play, and resilience. We at YALDA believe the spirit of the game can be harnessed to empower young people and advance development goals across the continent. The tournament will bring together 24 nations in a moment of shared joy that transcends borders and reinforces a common African identity. African athletes serve as a powerful role model, showing young people what dedication and discipline can achieve, while youth fans, volunteers, and aspiring players play a vital role in energizing communities and supporting grassroots initiatives. AFCON also presents a major opportunity to promote intra-Africa tourism. As fans travel across borders, they engage with local culture, history, and cuisine, boosting local economies and showcasing Africa as a vibrant tourism destination. Youth-led businesses in hospitality, creative industries, and travel benefit directly, while cultural exchanges strengthens Africa's image as a unified and welcoming continent. So this webinar will explore how sport can catalyze social development, share examples of youth-led programs using football to promote education, entrepreneurship, and community engagement, and also outline practical steps for governments, sports bodies, and civil society to embed community development into AFCON's legacy. The discussion will also highlight YALDA's work supporting youth-led initiatives, scaling digital platforms for aspiring athletes, and advocating for inclusive long-term benefits from major sporting events. I would like to recognize Tulani Moyo from Zimbabwe, who is the author of this webinar's concept note. Well done, Tulani. Thanks for putting this together for us. And to begin this exciting webinar, I'll ask that the audience please type in the chat your name and country. Let's get to know each other within the chat even as we begin the webinar. But before we start, of course, let me introduce our lovely speakers to you. So leading us in this discussion, we have a group of vibrant speakers. We have Joanne Dirango, Business Development Lead from Thanks Technologies in Kenya. We also have Jovine Jenkins Matovu, who is Chief Commission Officer for the Uganda Premier League in Uganda. We also have Allen Takudzwa Mavunga, Director, Sports Facilities Company in Zimbabwe. We also have Ndeye Diarra, who is the founder of Stadium Seco in Senegal. We also have Wisdom Jatomi, who is the Head of Research and Development at DET Services in Nigeria. Also joining us, we have Mr. Eli Kuji, a tech entrepreneur from Togo. We'll also be hearing from Chioma Atamo, Senior Director, Community Impact at Sporting Kansas City from Nigeria. So everyone, before we start the webinar, we need to address the elephant in the room. And my brother Budani is about to pull up a Mentimeter slide. Please take your phone, scan the QR code that's going to be on the screen. So that's the QR code that you'll be scanning right on your screen. And tell us which country you believe is going to win the AFCON 2025. So you will see the Mentimeter, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to enter the country you think will take the trophy. So please make sure that you only enter the countries that are actually playing, okay? I know we like to have fun, but please let's not be silly about it. Let's make sure that we only enter the countries that are actually going to be competing in this year's edition of the AFCON. So like I said, I'll give you 30 seconds and we'll see which country comes out on top and whether the wisdom of you guys will get it right. Let's go. Okay, are we winding up? Are we getting it?
I haven't gotten the Mentimeter yet, please.
Hello, Budani? Budani, do you need more time? Okay, just so we don't waste time, I think we can move to the next item on our agenda. Okay, there it is. Budana, are these the results?
Yes, that's the results from this side. I think many of them haven't yet voted in, but this is the current results.
Okay, let's give everyone, since I think they started late, let's give everyone 20 seconds more. Let's quickly vote. 20 seconds to wind up the voting. Okay, I think we've given everyone enough time to vote. And from what I'm seeing on the screen, it looks like people are voting for Uganda. And is this reflective of what's going to happen at the end of the AFCON 2025? Well, I guess we don't know. Let's wait and see if the crowd will be right about it. Otherwise, may the best team win. Okay, thank you very much, Budani, and thanks everyone for voting. So as we begin, we are going to pose a general question to our speakers. So we'll pose the following guiding questions to our distinguished speakers, and we will start with the challenges such tournaments face, and we want you to share your solutions on this. So the question is, in your view, why have tournaments like the AFCON not served as a catalyst for youth empowerment, community development, and intra-African tourism across Africa? What in the past have these tournaments not left? Why in the past have these tournaments not left a lasting legacy that benefits local communities and stimulate local economies beyond the final match? I'll go through that again. In your view, why have tournaments like the AFCON not served as a catalyst for youth empowerment, community development, and intra-African tourism across Africa? And what in the past have these tournaments not left a lasting legacy that benefits local communities and stimulates local economies beyond the final match? So each speaker is kindly invited to address these questions within 3 minutes. Let's please keep time. So we're going to start with Joanne. Joanne, please go ahead and give us your response to the question.
Thank you, Badinaya, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Joan Jirango from Kenya. I'm in the tourism industry, and my answer to that question from a tourism perspective is that it's very expensive to travel within Africa, and a lot of countries are very, they still have visas and a lot of, oh, you want me to show me video? Hello. So the reason why AFCON is not embraced as much as it can be and become a catalyst for change, especially for the youth, is that it's very expensive to travel within Africa, especially the visa. A lot of it locks you out. And I was looking at the visas to countries like Ivory Coast, where the visa is more expensive than the airfare. So that already leaves out a lot of people who are struggling or just starting out, and that's the youth. And then a lot of people in these positions of power are still people in their 50s and 60s. So a lot of young people are not in positions where they can effect any change. And in a lot of countries, and I'm speaking from experience, especially in Kenya, a lot of youth, the people in government are in their 50s and 60s. The youth are rarely involved. So when it comes to something like a World Cup trip, and we saw that recently. If you've been keeping up with international news, there was a lady, a climate change activist, a very young lady in her teens, who was left behind in the Brazil trip. And she hugged a tree for I don't know how many hours, but she made the Guinness Book of Records last week. Um, but she was left out. She was left out in favor of government officials who are older. And that means we are still doing things in the old way because we are not having fresh voices and younger people in positions of power. So, in a nutshell, that is my answer. It's expensive travel within Africa, and the youth are not in positions of leadership.
Thank you very much, Joanne. I like that you highlighted visa issues, which are indeed expensive, especially for our young people. And this is something that we've been advocating for, to have maybe just one visa for the continent or just a borderless Africa. Thank you for that. Let's go to Jovin. Jovin, please go ahead and answer the question.
Okay, thank you very much for such an interesting question. Good evening to you all. Yeah, it is evening in Uganda, so I don't know if it's the same time that side. So why AFCON hasn't delivered as a catalyst on many of the key points you have mentioned? First of all, is that one, and I'll speak in the perspective of commercializing and on-ground engagements. As Joan mentioned earlier, besides that the visas themselves being expensive, it still baffles me that, for example, if a country goes ahead to bid for the rights to host the biggest continental football competition or tournament, they still go ahead and leave stringent processes of accessing the country. Right now, we still have Ugandans, for example, who are using that app that Morocco introduced, who are still waiting for their visas. We also have a group of media people who have been traveling on ground. They moved from Uganda. I think they've now reached, Benin. And they've been finding challenges entering African countries in as much as they are going for this competition. That is the first thing. Secondly, in as far as still commercialization is concerned and youth involvement is concerned, is that if you do look at the packages of, for example, partnership or sponsorship for AFCON competitions, they are put at a global rate. For example, we had a competition recently as East Africans, that is Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, which were hosting. But you could barely see a local company being part of the partners of the competition. Why? Because the rates or the rate card that was being used for the sponsors and partners was actually made at a global rate. Somebody's being asked to pay, I think, $3 million US for 30 days as a sponsor, a local company, which even hardly breaks even at that rate. That is the other thing. The other point also, why I feel like delivery as far as AFCON and youth is concerned hasn't reached the expectations of many, is that there is a big gap between the actual fans of football and the policymakers. Because you could imagine, like right now, if the first game of AFCON is going to happen, if you asked in very many countries, when their first game is happening, I saw there was even a tour for AFCON in the UK. Very interesting. There was a campaign for AFCON in the UK. I don't know if you guys have seen any of that campaign in Kenya or in Zambia or where. But the engagement of the people who are actually the real fans of these countries, of these players, have been misplaced, and there's need for stakeholder alignment so that AFCON can speak into what the actual young African feels deserving for continental competition. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Joven. Indeed, accessibility is one of the biggest barriers that's hindering intra-Africa tourism, and I agree that we really need fair competition for our local companies to be able to get involved in our local events. Let's move to Alan Takutzwa. Please go ahead and answer our question. Is Alan on the call? Okay, let's move to the next speaker. We'll wait for Alan. Ndeye, please go ahead and answer our question.
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry that I was late. Am I supposed to put on my camera or is it fine? Hello?
Hello, Ndeye, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Should I answer the specific question or do you want me to start with the question that you're asking every speaker?
Okay, so we are still looking at the specific question. Sorry,
Okay.
we are still looking at the general question.
Okay, give me just a quick second. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry again, everyone, for being late. I'm gonna quickly introduce myself. My name is Ndeye Diarra. I'm the founder of Africa Scores. Specifically for AFCON, we have launched Stadium Circle. A Stadium Circle is an app allowing executives to connect on the sidelines of the competition. And to answer your question, I don't believe that AFCON has served as a catalyst for youth empowerment, community development, and intra-African tourism. I'll answer the question in twofold. I think one, there has been a planning issue around these type of tournaments and competitions. I don't think it's just specific to AFCON. I think it's every sports competition on the continent. There is a missed opportunities not only from the governing bodies and the sponsors, because if you look at what has happened at the last AFCON, companies like Visa and Total have done a decent enough job of trying to engage with the grassroots level. But it's more to me on the part of our governments to just not really understand the opportunity to engage with the youth. And I'll take an example of what I think is currently making out to be a good engagement at the youth level is the Youth Olympics happening in Dakar 2026. They've already launched several recruitment program for youth, right? And I think this is a positive sign of at least one specific sporting event on the continent doing a decent enough job of engaging in advance and planning in advance for engaging with the youth. As far as like I said, I was going to answer it twofold. I think from the second part of that, it's not to me just about the governments and the governing entities of those organizations. I think our organization, our grassroots organization also have to be a bit more intentional about how they intend to engage with those competitions. So typically, it's not because AFCON is taking place in Morocco that we shouldn't organize at our own level. So my countries are Senegal and Mali. Both countries are competing at AFCON. What are our local NGOs doing to ensure that, I don't know, for instance, like, you know, young kids get to watch the games. So maybe organizing watch parties, or how do you ensure that there's more activities around football/soccer at the time of AFCON, right? I feel like it's a two-way street, and I think that just because the competition is happening abroad or away doesn't mean that we're not supposed to engage locally with what's going on. To answer the question, I hope that does it for you guys.
Thank you very much, Day. I like that you highlighted planning issues because I think that is where most of the problems start from. That's where everything really goes wrong from. We're going to move to the next speaker, Wisdom Jatomi. Please go ahead and answer our question.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, welcome. I thank everyone for having me here. My name is Wisdom Jatomi. I'm the head of research and development from Nigeria. And that question you've posed, there's a plethora of answers to that. There's a lot of reasons why it seems that AFCON has not had the desired effect. So I'm going to look at it from various reasons. I'll look at it first of all from the financial reasons. The youths who are the major driving force of sporting events anywhere in the world. If you look at the financial capacity and capabilities of the average African youth, it pales in comparison to their European or South American counterparts. And I believe that, like earlier speakers have mentioned, I, for one, tried to attend the 2023 AFCON, the one hosted at the Côte d'Ivoire. And I believe that not many people were able to afford it, simply because the price was a bit too much. And this is putting many people away. And of course, we cannot be blind to the peculiarities of the African continent, especially in certain regions where government and its policies have laid stringent burdens on the youths. It's very difficult for you to want to support a tournament if you are struggling to feed or you are struggling to survive, and that has been the case for many. Another reason I believe is that the policymakers, I'm going to address this to maybe CAF and maybe the host nations. I am astonished that at this level, till now, there's not enough publicity. It's almost like we treat the AFCON like some sort of inter-house games you play in school. If you want to look at it in comparison to the Euros or the Copa America, the publicity it gets, it's almost like CAF puts no effort into publicizing the AFCON. It's a major event. And we have to be realistic from a sporting perspective that many of the African youths who should spearhead this are also involved in watching the European games. Of course, that is also there. But the publicity other tournaments get and what AFCON gets pales. I was actually reading a report and I read somewhere I think that was about last year or there about that Germany spent almost 30 or so million because Germany hosted the last Euros in publicity alone for the Euro 2024, and they made it all back. So I believe that we are lacking there. CAF, to me, is not doing enough to publicize the event. I believe it's one of the biggest events in Africa. Sports is one of the few things that unify all the regions of Africa with all our differences, and I believe that CAF should do more. And because of the lack of publicity, not many people are getting involved. Not many youths are getting involved. And so it just fizzles down. It starts and then it fizzles down. And then I also believe that I'm not going to advocate because I know that there might be polarizing opinions to that, but I believe that maybe it's time that host countries learn to open their borders more. I have had issues. I've known of people who've had issues, traveling to these host nations. I'm not going to unilaterally say that we want a single, passport for everyone in Africa. I'm not going to propagate that yet. But I believe that if you are trying to host a continental event, you have to make room for your nation to be accessible. In my country, there was an unfortunate incident recently where some athletes were denied visas to another African country, so they couldn't participate. It's ridiculous that in this day and age, that is still happening. Now, in a situation where getting the visa is an equilibrium tax, it's a difficult tax, you are going to drive away most of the youths who are actually keen in it because the process becomes too difficult. And so many people just rely on, okay, I'll just watch it on the television there. So I believe that the host nations could do better. There should be more inclusivity when you want to host an event like this. Maybe CAF should maybe carry out better, processes in the bidding and maybe tell the host nations or those intending to bid that this is what it's going to
10
be.
seconds to wind up, Wisdom.
All right. And then finally, I would say that one of the issues we have is that those fans, the youths who can actually push these tournaments are priced out of it. And so those who go there are just there for the show of it. So those are the reasons I believe why it has not kicked on, it has not become a catalyst. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wisdom. Indeed, the lack of publicity also affects accessibility in some way. It creates some sort of gatekeeping. We'll now move to Mr. Eli Kuji. Please go ahead and answer our question.
Hello, good evening. So my name is Eli Kuji. I am from Togo, but I live in Morocco, in Casablanca, where you are going to have the AFCON. So I'm glad to join you, and I'm a tech entrepreneur and digital transformation specialist. I'm based here in Morocco. I'm founder of Kekeli Technology that work with banks and law firm to digitalize their processes, and we have a subsidiary in Togo, and also we have opened uh, one of our companies in the US to build automations and AI agents for our clients over there. So regarding AFCON Morocco 2025, we have built an app uh, which we have put on Play Store, AFCON Morocco 2025. You can find it on Play Store. It's going to be on App Store soon, and it's an app actually to help the fan to connect when they are here, how they can find local places to visit or to visit the best places here in Morocco for tourism. And regarding your question, why AFCON has not fully catalyzed youth empowerment, community development, and intra-African tourism, well, I will agree with the previous speakers and just emphasize on some points. The first is the short-term focus over long-term impact that um, usually characterize the AFCON events. Many AFCON tournaments have been designed as short-term events. You have countries who invest in stadiums, and then after the event, there are no grassroots organization to capitalize on the event that has happened, so that even the development of football locally will be improved through the organization of AFCON. We have seen it in many countries who have built expensive stadium, but after the event, the stadium has become empty and no one is using them. So that's the short-term focus over long-term impact. The AFCON event are not designed to to help the local community to develop, and also to build from ground up the football or the sports in general in the country. And you find that when the final whistle blows, there's often no structural plan to transfer skills and opportunity to local youth and small businesses. Even though, for instance, the care of the stadium, all that can be transferred to private or company that will help to take care of it. So that's one of the issues. And another one is the limited, I'll call it limited youth and local business integration. Like young people are usually positioned during those events as spectators or volunteer, not as co-creators. There are some things that happened in the latest AFCON in
10
Abidjan.
seconds to wind up, Mr. Eli.
So, yeah, just to point that is that youth has not been positioned as co-creator to the events, and that prevent them to be effective in benefiting about from the event actually. I'll stop there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I like that last point about co-creation. I think that's very important that we not just look at young people as participants. These are people that are energetic, are creative and innovative, and surely need to be involved in co-creation activities of AFCON. Okay, so we're going to move to Chioma and Takutzwa. If you are here with us now, I'll be moving back to you after Chioma, so please be on standby. Chioma, please go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am the Senior Director of Community Impact at Sporting Kansas City. It's a major league soccer team in the US, so my role is overseeing the club's philanthropic strategy, managing our major community partnerships, and our player and alumni engagement. Kansas City is also a World Cup hosting city, so next year that's what we're currently preparing for. But to answer your question, I agree with all of the speakers. You guys have all made great points, and the only thing that I'll add is identifying the nonprofit groups early and figuring out if there's a way to create some type of fellowship or some type of internship program to engage youth. I think we try to, especially with this tournament, Ellie said it best, with just there's a short-term mindset in place. But if we get people at the table early enough and getting the right ideas involved, I think people try to recreate the wheel. And there's a lot of nonprofit groups on the ground that have built the trust with their communities, that have the knowledge, that can provide valuable information and see what existing programs are in place. So when there are sponsors and media partners that are interested in whether that is storytelling and highlighting the great things that are happening in those communities, they are set up to quickly activate that. So that's what I'll add to that first question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chioma. Takutzwa, are you on now? Nde, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just wanted to make a quick comment from one of my fellow Cubanos. I think it's Eli who had mentioned this. I fundamentally agree that like youth organizations are typically left out of the planning of big events like AFCON, and that's something that definitely CAF, the local federation, and even the hosting country should like over-index. However, I will say that I still think that what's missing as far as grassroots level empowerment and youth empowerment is also like a proper local infrastructure as well. Morocco's perhaps not a country that this can be applied to, but I find that like we're about to launch, with Africa Scores, we're about to release a dashboard that kind of breaks down the economic insights for AFCON. So typically looking at how many players of the national team play in the local league, right? And it's always baffling to me I'm sorry, my daughter just woke up from her nap. When I look at the data, like I see that, whether you're looking at, there's very few countries on the continent where players like actually play locally. And so to Ellie's point about like, the maintenance of the infrastructure and whatnot, I don't think it necessarily falls just on a CAF at a Pan-African level, but it's also behooves like every country to ensure that they develop a local football ecosystem that can then include these youth organizations, these NGOs, these community organizations. And that is something that's missing. Like that is the missing middle that we need to work on.
Thank you very much, Nde. I definitely agree that we need to start from the grassroots and make sure that local leadership is taking this on and ensuring that everything that needs to be in place for this to happen is put in place. It looks like Takutzwa hasn't joined that yet, so we're going to move to the next segment of our webinar, and we'll be asking the speakers specific questions. So for this one, we are going to have 5 minutes each. And again, we will be starting with Joanne. So Joanne, your question: from a business and technology perspective, how can digital innovation around AFCON 2025 support local entrepreneurs, enhance fan engagement, and also unlock new opportunities for youth-led enterprises across Africa? Joanne, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Abida. Please leave the question up for now so that I can just answer it in totality. So for those joining, my name is John from Kenya. I'm in the tourism industry and currently in tourism and tech. So from a business and technology perspective, how can digital innovation around AFCON support local entrepreneurs? I think I want to echo what Wisdom said. This should be a year-long preparation. Well, the moment we know which country is hosting, we now go into full mode. So let's say Kenya is the one hosting, and we go into full mode of partnering with NGOs, as mentioned, like Chioma, and tourism bodies here in Kenya, so that we advertise, because these are very specific group of travelers that are coming. These are fans of the game. People who are traveling that far are committed to seeing the games and have a country in mind. They're coming to support their country. So they are a very different traveler from the travelers we normally get. Could be leisure, could be conference, business. These are very different types of travelers, and we can tailor the tourism givings that we have here in Kenya for them. I remember in the last game when Angola was here in Kenya and they had a chance to go visit the national park here in the city, and it's the only national park of its kind in the world. And the conversation became about the national park more than it was about the game. Whether they won or not, I don't even remember. But I remember their experience and their reactions to seeing. It's very sad when an African is seeing a giraffe for the first time in their 30s. And that also brought up the question: what is in Angola? I would like to also go there and see, why are there no giraffes there? Why are they seeing giraffes for the first time with the white people from New York here in Kenya? And so there's so many organizations that can take advantage of having all eyes on Kenya for that duration of time. And where technology comes in, we have virtual reality. For the fans who cannot travel, the same way we have webinars now, and we can connect to the world at different times of the day. We can include virtual reality so that a fan who is tuned in to watch the game, they can participate and maybe do a virtual reality tour of our national park, of our giraffe center, where we can feed giraffes, Sheldrick's Wildlife Trust, where we have orphaned elephants. That can also be incorporated. We can unlock new opportunities. We have mentioned how expensive it is to move within African countries, and maybe for the duration of the game, we can lift some of these bans. So maybe the conversation is longer, and it will take a while for all countries to be accessible to each other. In the meantime, during this period, if somebody is traveling to come and watch the game, we can lift the visa fees. We can. This is what is called intra body cooperation. And so we know that during this, it's a month. So maybe people are coming here for a whole month. During the month of July in 2025, all visa will be lifted for Africans visiting Kenya. And that encourages people to travel more. Infrastructure can be built. This is something we can keep doing it even now, even when we're not having the games in mind, even for other activities. Infrastructure such as train services that join country to country, so that we mitigate. We are not all flying. We are not all on the skies. We can do tours on the water tours. If somebody's coming from Zanzibar to Kenya, we can do. There's so much we can do. There's so much conversation that can happen before all of these games are happening. And where technology comes in is also where the youth come in, because the youth are more likely to use technology than the older generation. And we're seeing it even in our workforce right now. And I've mentioned things like virtual reality, webinars, and just having people tune in. I know old media such as TV and newspapers and radio are doing their part, but we also need to involve new media. How can social media be considered? How can it be used as a tool to entice people to visit the country? So if for nothing else, if your country is playing one game, so what do you do in between that? That also includes hotels, especially where the games are going to be held. So, for example, in Kenya, I'd imagine the games would be in Nairobi. The hotels can have special rates because if the youth are coming in and we are trying to entice them, then it means they cannot be able to pay the normal charges that we have for hotel room and for upkeep. Yes, whoever wants to backpack and do the hostel thing can do that, but the
You
hotels
have
should also be,
20% behind us, John. Sorry.
thank you. No problem. So the hotels can also join in this, and this is what I mean by a trickle-down inter-body cooperation, where everybody is committed to having this person come to our country, and we try and convert them. So this time they came in as a fan, and we want to bring them again as a leisure guest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. And talking about new opportunities, I think I like the idea of being able to display all these using digital media, and also what you mentioned about the intra-body cooperation. I think that is something very interesting that our government should start looking at so that we can all just cooperate in making this happen. I'll now move to our next speaker, Jovin. Jovin, your question, drawing on your experience managing a national league, how can AFCON 2025 strengthen domestic football structures, empower young talent, and create sustainable benefits for local leagues and communities? Please go ahead, Jovin.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm Jovin Jenkins Matovu from the prestigious Uganda Premier League. So when we know, you see, when we mention AFCON, we usually go into the idea of passion, unity, as far as national pride, national pride, which are really very important factors. But if you look globally, most of the major competitions are actually measured or judged on way other things, especially on how effective they strengthen domestic leagues and the commercial systems, and then the long-term football institutions. So, for example, when we are going to have these competitions like AFCON, and I'm speaking from the level of the like at league level, you can have 9 players selected to go and compete in the national team of AFCON. But interestingly, the other players who are being picked to come and compete are mainly not known by these by the young people in the country, and by the clubs. So at the end of the day, you're having 9 actual nationals, and the balance are more or less expatriates competing. So the clubs hardly get to benefit directly from such competitions. But it is important to note that if you look at, for example, the UEFA Champions League, the Copa Americas of this world, the AFCs, all of them drive growth from league level, because it is the leagues, the local leagues, the domestic players that feed into talent to the national teams. When we are in position to grow our players in as far as branding is concerned, for example, imagine if the best player in Zambia or in Kenya or in Tanzania or in any other country is known, even in Uganda, as a star player. Definitely, it will mean that AFCON has 24 countries that are going to participate. But for a young person, it will mean that they have an opportunity to go and see 24 stars. Let's just imagine each country has 1 star who is known at continental level. And so we have 24 stars who are going to be watched by all these Africans. This will drive growth, first of all, for the league at league level, but also it will drive engagement amongst the Gen Zs, as they're being referred to lately, the young people. So AFCON must play the same role for African domestic leagues, from scaling and ensuring that they become sustainable businesses, but also in as far as commercial is concerned. Now, in the context of, for example, if you look at it in global entertainment or global football competitions, right now, the competition that AFCON has is actually even beyond just other football competitions, or let's say like just maybe like the English Premier League or the La Ligas, because you saw how our players, actually some of them are being refused to be released to come and compete in the competition. But yet these leagues, local leagues, have players who can compete. But because the countries have put more emphasis on winning the game than winning the fun, you end up having what I would call maybe like a broken down fan base that is not united. So the competition that AFCON has, like now, for example, the entertainment platforms. I mean, somebody has to choose between streaming a game of maybe Uganda versus Zambia over scrolling through their TikTok or going to their Snapchat and keeping their streak alive, or other digital content systems. Then if you look at global sponsorships, when they are going to select which country are they going to invest in, maybe like the data companies, maybe like the rest of Genius Sport and others, if they're going to choose a competition they're going to invest in, they're going to base on the volumes. But these are the same volumes that AFCON at continental level is not putting into consideration, because, as the previous person mentioned, there are no activations at domestic level. So right now, as Africa, we do already export enough talent, a lot of it, but we now need to do the same of growing domestic leagues as investable products, which can be able to attract global sponsorships. Now, with these global sponsorships, it will be even actually easier for them to culminate into continental or maybe CAF partners. And this will also reflect on how maybe the tickets are being charged for access, the revenue that the country is getting as a host partner and such. Then if we look at domestic leagues, let's say as an engine behind to look
10
at.
seconds, Matov, to wind up.
I beg your pardon?
You have 10 seconds to wind up.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So my point is that right now, the opportunity that is available for AFCON is to grow domestic league clubs from player level to the local coaches, to the grassroots systems, looking at the community-based football economies, which are really too big. But these require to have a structure that is strong enough and it can be able to support a continental competition like AFCON. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Jovane. Indeed, local leagues would nurture talent and vibrant football cultures that can attract fans across the continent and also just help us to sustain intra-Africa tourism beyond the AFCON. Please, our lovely audience, remember to note down your questions, or you could already start typing them in the chat box and we'll get to them when we get to the Q&A. I'll now move to our next speaker. I'm told Alan is now with us, so let's have Alan. So Alan, your question is, as a leader in sports infrastructure, how can the AFCON 2025 drive investment in facilities that serve both elite competitions and grassroots communities long after the tournament ends? Please go ahead, Takuzo. Okay, maybe we lost him again. I hope he can join us again later. Let's move to Ndeye. Ndeye, your question. from your work using data, technology, and executive networking to unlock commercial value in African sports, what practical solutions can platforms like Stadium Circle offer during AFCON 2025 to connect businesses, attract investment, and also just accelerate sustainable growth across the African sports industry? Ndeye.
Thank you for your question. First of all, I'm going to say I fully agree with what has been said before, specifically by Matuvanjovi. I think there is a need to build, and that was my point earlier, we need to build the local leagues if we want those mega Pan-African tournaments to truly bring the impact that we're expecting and the scale we're expecting at. To answer your question, I'm going to start with a couple of numbers just to give us an idea of the size of things, right? The global sports industry is valued at $2.65 trillion. Okay. In the US, just in the US, there's a segment of the sports industry that is booming right now, and it's called the youth sports industry. So think all the money that parents pay for their kids to go play baseball, football, basketball, whatever. Now, if you look at Africa specifically, our entire sports industry, the entirety of it, currently is sitting at like approximately $12.5 billion. So the youth sports industry in the US is valued at $40 billion. And the African sports industry is currently valued at like around $12.5 billion. And by 2030, it's expected to reach $25 billion. If you look at the demographics of Africa, it doesn't make sense and when you look at the amount of talents that we have, it doesn't make sense that our sporting industry in the next 5 years would still be less than the current size and like almost half of the youth sports industry, which is a subset of the US sports industry, right? And to me, like, and with Africa Scores, like our mission, like what drives us, like our team and myself every day is the fact that we think that there's a tremendous commercial opportunity around the business of sports in Africa. And that's why we don't like to talk about, I mean, we have to talk about it, but I like to talk as sports as an industry because we have to move beyond philanthropy. We have to move beyond aid. And we have to really think about how do we, just like with every other industry, how do we move Africa up the value chain of sports, right? We hear that discourse with every other industry, whether it's our minerals, our agriculture, like Africa is always like providing the raw materials and then those goods get transformed and then they become, hyper valuable. It's the same case with our athletic talent. If you look at the fact that we have so many players, once again, making the segue on like the dashboard we're building at AFCON, look at the fact that there's so many of our players that play either in the US with the MLS, with, English Premier League, whichever. But those players started in our very own backyards. So why can we not make sure that those players develop locally? Because the beauty of football specifically is that you can develop a player locally, and then every single contract he will sign in his entire career, some money will trickle down to the first academy that like help train him and develop him. And that's where you get your money for impact, right? That's where you get your social impact investment that you need to then fuel those very grassroots and youth empowerment movements we're talking about. So this is where Africa Scores is sitting. And specifically for Stadium Circle, I heard Joanne mention earlier, that, you want to make sure that you create an experience around fans, but I'm going to push that thought process a bit further. When you think about fans, who are fans really? Yes, okay, sure. I'm a fan of the Senegalese national team, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO. I have a business. And so, to your point, John, earlier, moving around the continent is super expensive. So, why not try to utilize platforms like the AFCON and turn them into business opportunities in the sense that the people that will travel to AFCON or have the opportunity to travel to AFCON, rather, I should say, shouldn't just like, I mean, of course, go and enjoy your football for 80% of your time. But there's that 20% of your time where you're not sitting at a game, you're sitting in between games, you don't know what to do, you've done your traveling, you've done your tourism. Well, that portion of your time can be dedicated to networking. Because think about it, how many people from Botswana, Zambia, Southern Africa in general, go to Morocco? not that many, and there's not that many opportunities. So Stadium Circle as an app was created to help people network on the sidelines of the African Cup of Nations, because we believe that because of the current make of our continent, we need to leverage those very opportunities that we have to connect with one another when we find each other in the same country. And we need to seize all of the opportunities that we can get. And that's why we created Stadium Circle. It's all about making sure that networking is not left to chance on the sidelines of those big competitions. Like the next partner, the next client, the next, business relationship can be sitting in that stadium, but you just don't know about it because so far we didn't have the platform to help people connect, like via industry, like, by industry, by sector, by intentions of networking. And that's what Stadium Circle is meant to be. I'm done, by the way.
Sorry about that, Nde. I was actually on mute. Thank you very much. I do agree with you that the African sports sector would unlock massive economic value if it were treated as a serious industry and not just a charity, of course, by developing talent locally. We are now going to move to our next speaker. Let's now go to, okay, I'm not sure if Alan is on now, but we'll move to Wisdom while we wait. Wisdom, your question, from a research and innovation standpoint, how can data technology and smart systems be used during AFCON 2025 to improve operations, enhance youth participation, and also support economic development? Please go ahead, Wisdom.
All right, thank you. So from the perspective of research and innovation, it's very important that AFCON. Please, can you go back to the question, if that's okay, in the slide? From the perspective of research and innovation standpoint, we can see that data technology and smart system can be very effective. So I'm just going to break them down. How can these be effective in, let's just say, enhance youth participation? Now, what we are looking at is youths are the lifeblood of the continent, basically. So it's a very youthful continent, if we want to be honest. And we've discussed, earlier speakers have discussed that they have been alienated for one reason or the other. Now, what we need is practical solutions. Now, the AFCON 2025 starting on Sunday. What can we do to make sure more youth participate? Now, the first and most obvious way youth can participate is basically content creation. Now, one of the ways in which, of course, we are living in, the world is a global village, we are living in a technological age. One of the ways in which youths can maybe show Africa, the better side of Africa, is through content creation. Now, there are folks, I have friends in the international community who actually have a very negative viewpoint of Africa. Many people actually even see Africa. I have a friend who, before we became close, actually saw Africa as just one country. Many people do not even know it's actually a continent with over 50 countries. Now, there's already a negative image out there, and it's left for us to correct it. And now, one way is through content creation. That's just one of the ways in which innovation can start. Now, in this AFCON 2025, there's a content creator that I know that is trying to go to Morocco and just show the good side. And now, what content will he create? Of course, it's football relating content, because we cannot ignore the tournament in its essence. But there are other things that will come to light during his content creation, maybe via YouTube, which of course showing the good side of Morocco, showing the tourist centers and the like. So that's just one way. Another way I believe is that that youth can get involved is via mobile apps. I believe that the English Premier League have cracked the way in which to get people involved in their product. I do not know any sporting, at least to the best of my knowledge, I do not know any sporting, team or any sport anywhere that has garnered as much attention as the English Premier League. I think they've got it superbly right when it comes to marketing. They found a way to get people hinged on it. It's almost like it's like some sort of drug now. And if you don't see a Premier League match, in fact, if you notice during the off-season, people are so eager to wait for the season to begin. I believe that one of the reasons they do that is because they've developed apps, which is innovative, to keep people involved, even in games that ordinarily people would not watch. That's what they call the Fantasy Premier League app. I'm pretty much sure that some of us might know it, where you basically just pick players and they get points as per performance. There are games like maybe Burnley versus Fulham that naturally nobody will watch, but maybe if you have a player playing and you just want to see what your player is doing, it just keeps interest. It seems small, but it's very innovative to keep people interested, to keep people talking about it. I believe that we're due one. I'm actually happy that a company is actually taking interest in actually creating an AFCON fantasy app. So there are certain games, for example, if my country is not playing Nigeria, I might not be so interested naturally. I'm speaking for the average youth in watching maybe another country that maybe there are no superstars. But if I should have a player there that I want to monitor for my AFCON team, I'll probably have to watch that match. And then it garners interest. So every match becomes interesting to the youth. Those are the things. We must not kid ourselves. We have to be realistic. In this day and age, people want to do things that are fun. So these apps, they help. I believe the English Premier League have used that to further enhance their game. If you see the way they publish it, if you see the way they publicize it, you know that they know that this is a very big factor. So it's innovative. It's one way to keep youths involved. Give them something, make it more fun. Then another way in which we can actually, get youths involved in this is via match analysis. So there are so many youths who go to these games. They want to analyze what they've seen. Now, when they do this, if there's any sort, I don't know to the best of my knowledge, if there's any sort of platform in which youths, I think maybe CAF should create it, but it's not in the blogs yet now. If there's any sort of platform in which maybe fan accounts can be given, interviews can be given. Once more, I'm going to reference to the Premier League again. I believe that when it comes to marketing, from a sporting perspective, the Premier League have some sort of sway. I see them as some sort of pathfinder when it comes to marketing, making their game very public and very global. So there are certain fan accounts that in the Premier League just give interview one or two fans. All these things stir interest. And the youth wants to do things that are interesting. Like a speaker previously said, the youths they are being underutilized in these tournaments. They are basically looked upon like maybe just volunteers. They have a role to play to make this very global. Now, from the economic perspective, I think it is quite clear what hosting a tournament like this does to the economy, especially in the hospitality business. And I believe that it is important and essential that youths, take the lead in this as well. Now, apps can be created.
You have 30 seconds to wind up, Wisdom.
Okay. Apps can be created that will aid the hospitality business. It is not out of point for us to innovate apps that can show tourists where to get food or the best food in the city, apps to show them where the best hotels are, where the best tourist locations are. These are things that one could do, that the youths can do, and then it will garner interest. So imagine I enter Morocco today and I want to know where I can get maybe Nigerian food, for example, or maybe where I can get Moroccan dish, for example. And there's an app I can just link and just go in, and then they will direct me that this is what you want, this is what you want. So those are the things, innovations that we need to actually push this tournament forward. And it is only the youths that can actually do this. So they have to be inclusive. And there's the field is wide in which we can innovate and actually make a difference. And I believe that with time, there's an historic AFCON coming in 2027 in which 3 Eastern African nations are hosting it. And I believe that by that time, certain things would have developed to a certain extent where we'll be able to actually portray Africa in a better light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wisdom. You're saying AFCON would hook fans through football and keep them engaged through content, tourism, and storytelling, and also smart apps. And I do agree with you that this would turn into something very interesting, an obsession, just like the Premier League, like you said. Now moving to our next speaker, Mr. Eli Kuji. Your question: combining your expertise in responsible AI and your passion for football, how can technology at AFCON 2025 improve fan experiences, promote trust and inclusion, and also leave a strong digital legacy for African sports? Mr. Eli.
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, just to um, answer the previous speaker, wisdom about the fun apps and all that. That's the reason why we have created and this app actually with fun in mind because I am a long, uh, lifelong football enthusiast, and as I was looking for a way to like engage with the tournaments. I went to the official website of the tournament, tried to find if AFCON has or CAF has maybe built an app for the fans, and I saw that no, there's no app. There is just only YALA to get the fan ID for the tickets, and then to get the e-visa in the YALA app. So I decided that I'll build something out of the go. I use AI to build most of it actually, and I've documented the process on my LinkedIn profile. It was like a pet project that I was doing in the beginning, and as I was doing it, many of my friends said that yeah, we need something like this, and it answers what you are saying just a few minutes ago, Wisdom, about the need for a fun app, and you are right. Like we need something that could engage fun, and many of the football enthusiasts in Africa, as the whole continent is in majority the youth. So they have idea. They can talk about the sports. So there's something we are building, and we believe after this event, we will continue building it for the next event. We will gather insights through the use of the app, and then we will improve it for the next event because our idea is that it should become something central for the fan to go to. And also, as you were saying, if you come to Morocco, which restaurant do you go? You are maybe a Christian. Where do you go? Is there churches here? You can find them in the app. We have integrated that in the app in a place like Morocco, Discover Morocco in the app, where you can find like the restaurants. We have listed some restaurants for Moroccan food, and we are trying to partner with some restaurants also and have sponsor. We have like groups where fan can predict scores and like scorecast, but inside the app where fan can join and predict the score, and even like have private tournaments and so on. So those are the kind of idea we are building in this AFCON Morocco 25 app that you can find on Play Store. And to continue answering the question, what I would say is that actually, I'll say three things since I don't have enough time. First is we need smarter, inclusive fun experiences, uh, and it joined what I've said before. Responsible AI can power official fun platform that can provide real-time match updates, multilingual content. Our app has French and English. You can have accessibility features and community interaction. So this will make AFCON more inclusive. Even add something for women who during AFCON, you can see that most women who are not maybe sport farm during AFCON, they all support their country. So I think there's something that can be built there for them to make the fun experience more inclusive. And then also something that's important, since I'm also a certified ISO 4201 lead implementer that tackle anything regarding AI governance. So I have to say that we can ensure through governance framework how fan data can be protected, how we can reduce misinformation, and also how we can make the digital services transparent. And one last thing I can say before finishing is that we can use AFCON to have a lasting digital legacy beyond football by having open API. I don't know if there are tech people here. When I was building my app, one of the difficulties is that we don't have uh, uh, sports APIs from Africa, that can help power the local apps for real-time results. And as I think it was in Ndai who was saying it earlier, you know that sports is a multi-billion, even a trillion business worldwide. And so there is an untapped reserve in Africa, and we can use APIs, for instance, just to power apps, even for different sectors, not only the like real schools, but for tourism platform and youth-led initiative. This asset can later support also local leagues, cultural events, sports innovation hubs, and we need to think about turning AFCON into a launchpad for Africa's digital sport economy. And what I want to finish with is that we don't need CAF for that. I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't used to have to ask permission to build things. We don't need to wait for CAF. As a young people, we can build that today with AI, and with a few dollars, you can build an app, put it, and then try to market it. So, of course, the policies and the framework that the CAF can give us is important. But all the youth that are connected here, I want to encourage you. You
Thank
don't
you,
wait.
Mr. Ely.
Yeah, just don't wait. There is an opportunity to build a lasting digital legacy in football and beyond football for Africa. And so, yeah, that's where I will end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ely. I like that you've emphasized the importance of, working smart with the AFCON, having inclusive fan experiences, and using AI to power official platforms with real-time updates, and also the multilingual aspect of it, making content accessible to make sure that we have spaces that are inclusive, that bring in youth and women. And this would truly make the tournament a true Pan-African and inclusive event. Okay, so we are going to move to our next speaker, Chioma. Chioma, your question: from your work in wellness and community impact through football, how can AFCON 2025 intentionally support youth well-being, resilience, long-term community development? Sorry, I'll go over that again. From your work in wellness and community impact through football, how can AFCON 2025 intentionally support youth well-being, resilience, and long-term community development beyond the matches? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I didn't mention earlier, but I also have a wellness education company called Mindful Appetite. And so I try to merge that with my work with the football club to share different ways that we can get the youth excited, but using soccer as a way to also encourage people to get active and move outside. So one of the things I wanted to highlight was I think we all know this, but just a lack of representation from people who are storytelling, whether it's around our players, whether it's around the team's performance. And so Major League Soccer has eight players that are in performing in AFCON, and I would say only 5 clubs have really promoted that the players are in AFCON. Major League Soccer, starting in 2027, is going to change our schedule to mirror the schedule overseas. So we will have a break time where local leagues, like someone has already mentioned on this panel, local leagues have a big role to play in promoting individual players, but also supporting those teams. And so anybody on this call who has their own social media platform or likes to do storytelling, a lot of soccer clubs, a lot of tournaments are tapping into local creators to help storytell. Because a lot of social media teams are small, like even at our club, it's a team of 2 people, and we have 7 different enterprises. So I would say if you are storytelling, get your stories out there, try to tap into the local markets. And there's also a lot of nonprofit groups that partner with tournaments to have some type of ambassadorship. So I would say to also look at some of those organizations. Here we have Fuse that offers a 6 to 8 month fellowship. And so that is another opportunity to engage our youth, because I think the biggest thing is just lack of awareness. Here in the States, there's not a lot of the games for AFCON are not really televised. So there's a lack of awareness. There's also just there's scare tactics that are shared in terms of just what it takes to travel to Africa. So how do we share positive stories? How do we encourage people that there are, good people, there's great food, you'll have a good time, and enjoy yourself at this tournament. And just the last thing that I'll touch on too is um, there's a variety of different sports conferences, business conferences, tech, entrepreneur conferences that are held year round. So even having those organizations partner with the tournament to bring people into our African countries. So whether that's a luncheon, whether that's a webinar, whether that is something that will physically bring people to keep them occupied outside of the games. I think that's another way to get people engaged and involved, because like someone had already mentioned, there's a growing fan base of women that are interested in football. There's a growing fan base of youth that are interested in football, and even just the opportunities to work for a soccer club are continuing to grow. When I've been working in soccer now for 15 years. I had no idea about all the different roles um, that are available. And so even if AFCON is highlighting, if you are in communications, if you're in marketing, if you're in accounting, physical therapy, if you are somebody who is video analyst, there's so many different roles to get involved. So I think even just highlighting that can be a great opportunity to get our youth involved. Because again, lack of awareness, but a lot of our youth are on social media. So even if there's a social media series of highlighting some of those important initiatives, I think that could be a really great way to get the word out.
Thank you very much, Yoma. And indeed, Africa would win by fixing the storytelling gap and just backing local creators and youth voices to promote players, and also just make sure that we are amplifying what clubs and leagues can't do alone. Okay, so we'll give it another shot with Alan. I saw him join the call. Alan, are you on? Are you able to summarize your points for us? Alan, you're on mute. Okay, maybe
Hello?
not. Thank you very much. Oh, okay, there you are. Yes, Alan.
Good, you guys, how you doing?
Hello?
I can hear you.
We can hardly get you, Alan. I think your connection is not very stable. Can you try speaking again?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, much
Can you hear
better.
me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, so I'll just quickly summarize your points for us, Alan. And your question is, as a leader in sports infrastructure, how can AFCON 2025 drive investment in facilities that serve both elite competitions and grassroots communities long after the tournament ends? Please go ahead.
You were breaking up a bit. Can you, I heard infrastructure.
Oh, okay, Budani, please help us with the question on the screen.
Okay.
Alan's question. Okay, there it is. Yes, so your question is, as a leader in sports infrastructure, how can AFCON 2025 drive investment in facilities that serve both elite competitions and grassroots communities long after the tournament ends? Please go ahead.
Thank you for the question. I think infrastructure in the sporting industry is critical in the growth of the sport in Africa. And AFCON 2025 is a key driver in making sure that can happen. But with experience, I've seen that the more successful a country is at the AFCON competition, the more likely investment is going to come for infrastructure development in the sporting industry. So it's a huge gap, and people in Africa are not taking sport as a livelihood in some of these countries. In most of our African countries, where people can invest in the infrastructure development of sporting facilities, so we can develop and create new generational talents that can shine and compete at this AFCON and give what can I say, and give a better lifestyle for themselves. So what can happen now is that after we see, I've been to Morocco before and I've seen their infrastructure. Most Arabic countries in Africa have got very nice infrastructure for their sporting. I think we can learn quite a bit from this AFCON, especially for, I'm talking about other countries in Africa that don't have that much, and especially for my country, Zimbabwe, where we're going to have delegates that are going to be attending AFCON. They can use that experience to bring it back home to Zimbabwe and actually share information with the government and the powers that be that do work in the infrastructure budgeting for the country. As a leader in my country in terms of infrastructure development, it will come as a very, very good program for the government to release funds for us to develop and create more sporting facilities. Right now, what AFCON is going to do for most poorer countries that are there that don't have much infrastructure is going to help us to understand how it can be done. And going forward, the youngsters that will be watching TV and watching this AFCON can admire the stadiums that Morocco has and actually try to influence through the guys who will be attending AFCON to kind of see what can they bring back from this experience to their home country so they can help in the development of these infrastructures. And I think in terms of getting investment from local banks and the government for people to come and develop these structures is going to be useful to get us to where and long-term development of the sport. That's how I feel, and that's how I think, in a nutshell, where I believe we can gain better access to better infrastructure through collaboration and partnerships with these different countries that have better infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Alan. Indeed, we can show to our governments that AFCON would help to be a catalyst for success by pitching it to them that it actually attracts investment, and that sports infrastructure would help us develop football into a real livelihood in our various countries, and also just be able to invest in the next generation. Okay, so that's everyone. Thank you very much to our lovely speakers. And to our energetic audience, please questions in the chat. I'll give us 30 questions. I see we don't have any questions yet. Okay, we now have one. Okay, so 30 seconds to put our questions in the chat. Remember, you have to put your name and country even as you leave your questions in the chat, and then we'll have our speakers help us with answering those questions. Please just put the questions, 30 seconds. Okay, our 30 seconds is up. We have one question in the chat. I'm just checking if I missed any other. It looks like we have just that one question. This means our speakers did do a great job. Okay, I see there's another one that's coming. 3 questions actually from Messi. Let's start with the question from Emmanuel. Emmanuel, I'm inviting you to please unmute and ask your question. If you'd like to direct it to a specific speaker, please go ahead and do so. And remember to introduce yourself with your name and country.
Thank you so much. My name
Please
is
go ahead.
Emmanuel. Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Abuola, and I am in Uganda. This question is open. Maybe I could direct it to Mr. Matovu. However, thank you all of you thank you to the distinguished speakers for their great their great presentations. So I was wondering, of course, AFCON is going to be a competitive environment, and given that we come from different countries, I was wondering how could young people promote unity, peace, and inclusion across different African nations, without any idea, or while shaping positive African narratives. Thank you.
Please go ahead and respond.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Emmanuel, for that good question. So, first of all, how young people can be in position to shape a positive African narrative. One, as you had, key to all this is engagement. It is very evident that right now it may not be possible to get the young people to watch maybe a game of 90 minutes, but getting them to access these games, or the highlights, or the key highlights of the event, and also having events that involve them or speak into what their interests are. For example, you could find that young people could be more interested in, for example, participating in the fantasy league of AFCON, doing activations that speak the language of the young people rather than simply pushing the game to them. But also beyond all that is having them as part and parcel of the entire arrangement. Because you can't plan for a 25-year-old if you do not know what a 25-year-old wants. You have to first of all understand their language, understand what their interests are, what sparks them, what triggers them to follow something, what do they consider as something that is influential, what is motivating for them in as far as sport is concerned, but also what is there for them to benefit in as far as career is concerned or talent is concerned. And then when you have them involved in that entire ecosystem, you can be in position to say that you're supporting them to shape a continental narrative, even beyond the competition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We move to our next question from Messi Piri. Messi Piri, please unmute, introduce yourself, name and country, and please go ahead and ask your question. Feel free to direct it to a specific speaker.
Hello? Can you get me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, just a second. Oh, so basically my question is on youth ownership and leadership. How does this tournament ensure that young entrepreneurs are not just participants, but real decision makers and owners of solutions throughout the process? Like from the participant, the panelist that was talking about the app creation, I think I would direct this question to him. Then question number 2 says, from ideas to livelihoods, what practical pathways does the tournament create for youth-led ideas to turn into sustainable jobs and income, especially for young people facing limited access to capital? So I think also goes to, is it the app panelist, the speaker that's talking about apps? I think this also goes to him because he was really talking about young people should come forward and be able to build this thing, since CAF is not doing anything about the apps. So young people should be innovative enough and be able to budge into the space. So question number 3 is, beyond the tournament, after the competition ends, how will you continue engaging and supporting young youth-led ventures so that this becomes a long-term entrepreneurship pipeline rather than a one-off event? So like this event is organized by YALDA in the process of the Africa Free Continental Trade Area. So how would you be able to do that? My name is Messi Piri. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our speakers, let's please respond to Messi in that order, please.
I think you might be talking about me, addressing the question to me. So, well, I'll go with the 2 questions about the youth ownership and leadership. How does the tournament ensure that young entrepreneurs are not just participants, but real decision makers and owners of solutions throughout the process? Well, first of all, as you know, in Africa, most of the leadership are not young. So if the youth is going to wait all the time for the leadership to give them access, we will be staying there for long. So what I encourage everyone to do, I think I will blend the 2 questions together, is like, as a young person, me, I'm from a tech background. I built my solution using tech. So what I would encourage anyone is that it's like today with AI, the bridge to build an app has really been shortened. So the gap or the finances needed has been really been shortened. So you can truly going from idea to an app in a weekend, truly, by using less than $20. That is affordable for most people, I think. So that's something that you can think of. Let's say you are based in Zambia. Zambia is participating in this competition, but you may not travel to here to Morocco to watch the app. But there in Zambia, you can do many things by building an app where maybe meetups for young people who want to watch the tournament together, something like that. And at that meetup, offer drinks or food. Of course, there's something that you can do. You can brand your app using the tournament with the audience that the tournament will bring, so that your app also will have more viewership. So that's something that you can do. Now, specifically, how this tournament can ensure that you are not just participants, that will be for decision makers, but we need to push them. I believe the more you take the space, the less you have to wait for them to give it to you. So today, on every social media, you can build your audience, and you can through the audience that you have built, force AFCON to or CAF as the organizer to include youth in the process. One thing I want to finish with is that the previous AFCON that was held in Côte d'Ivoire, you see that I'm on the French social media, the French-speaking social media in Africa and the English-speaking social media. So we can see that many young African creators has used the app to create like engagement, to create has used the event, I mean, to create engagement and to create audiences. There is this thing that used to be trending, is like Congolese humorist has used to tease the other Congo. You know, there's two Congo, RD Congo and Congo Brazzaville, to say that they will wait for them at the river, and they'll bring out the cup. And this has gathered so much momentum on TikTok, and of course build an audience for him. So I believe that this event is a real opportunity for young people to like push their voice and even force decision maker to hear them, because the more you grow in audience, the more they will have to listen. Don't wait for them to come and give you, because we wait longer. We need to push our initiative, push our voice, and that's what I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last question from the chat as we wind up. Mpasa, please unmute and quickly ask your question. Okay. So Mpasa's question is, beyond the stadiums and the clubs, how can AFCON truly touch the everyday lives of young people, helping them grow as individuals and not just as athletes? Any of our speakers, please go ahead and answer the question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mpasa. So you see, the football ecosystem, as Mpasa has asked, goes way much beyond the pitch. In football commercials, all in sports marketing, we go beyond just the pitch. So how can AFCON really touch everyday lives of young people? First and foremost, from the time, even if we look at it in two aspects of physical and digital, for example, physically, from the time the fans that are going to watch or participate in the game reach in your country or reach a country, there's a whole load of various value touch points that can be used or exploited by people or young people to commercialize them. I'll give you an example. Interestingly, this AFCON is going to happen in Morocco, okay? But if you ask someone, for example, where are you going to sleep? They might not know where they're going to sleep. Or do they have a Ugandan meal? Where can I find a Ugandan meal in Morocco? You know, and they don't know where that's going to be found. So now the entire ecosystem, right from arrival, that is travel, from the meals, that is foods and beverages, to entertainment, you know, doing relegation parties, final parties. There's a lot of various touch points that can be exploited at the benefit of the young people through innovation and activated, and this can be hopeful. From as small as being vendors, like national team jerseys, because I mean, if AFCON is coming to, let's say, like 2027, it's going to be in Uganda, and the fixture is out already. You might want to ask yourself a question: how many national jerseys of the participating 23 countries are actually available in Morocco? You'll hardly find any, or if you find, you'll find a few of those things that have traveled with theirs, or you could find an independently designed, maybe a placard, you know, or a flag, or a lot of things can be done that speak into that value chain that can help the various stakeholders, especially the young people, to grow and commercialize on as an anchor for AFCON.
Thank you very much, Joven. Okay, I think that was the last question. And as we wind up, I'd like to urge our participants to please follow us to keep track of our conversations on the AFCFTA and the issues surrounding it, including this discussion that we had today, how we can incorporate sports and tourism in intra-Africa trade. So let's please make sure that we follow YALDA on our social media platforms, and also just register for our mailing list for latest news on African development, employment, scholarship opportunities, and also just inspiring African youth stories. You can see our social media handles that have been displayed on the screen, and you can also just scan the QR code to download them. Okay, due to time, I think I'll just ask the speakers to give their last concluding remarks within 30 seconds. So let's make sure that we keep it within 30 seconds. Let's start with Joanne.
Thank you. Thank you, Abina. So in conclusion, I think we have realized we already have the solutions. We know what the problem is, and we have the solutions. Most of the problems are political. And these days, the word youth is a call to action by itself. So I would urge everyone on this call to refuse to inherit the status quo in their countries, in their various countries, and just go ahead. I liked what Eli said about not waiting for AFCON, not waiting for CAF, not waiting for anyone to do anything. Create opportunities for yourself. Show people what you can do. We have so many platforms, and you have the eyeballs of everyone in the world. So let us all implement what we can. I will do the same in our tourism space and ensure that when the CAP is coming to us, we have started moving the machine very early on. Yes, so we already know AFCON is going to be in Uganda in 2027. So what is Uganda going to do? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joven, 30 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you. For me, for my closing remarks, first of all, I want to thank you for arranging something of this kind. I also wish we would have one months before the competition. That will help maybe the young people to brainstorm on some of the ideas. But in closing, I want to make it very clear that AFCON is going to be happening in Uganda, East Africa in 2027. There's a lot of opportunities that are available for each one at each kind of level. The best time to do anything or to execute, or the best way to do it, is by planning early enough. There are a number of brands that would be in position partner with various ideas, directly or indirectly, that would commercialize into careers and growth opportunities. So let's take them on. Let's be on the hunt for ideas. Let's look at having countrywide partnerships, mental partnerships to grow, but also let's be in position to benchmark on bigger competitions like the World Cup that is happening in the US, which I think is going to be a very big one. And then we shall be in position to harvest from such continental competition. I thank you very well.
Thank you very much, Jovin. Alan? Okay, let's move to Ndeye.
Hey guys, just first of all, thank you for YALDA as an organization, to Laone for having us. Thank you to my co-panelists. And I guess as a wrapping remark, just urging people to follow our newsletter, the Scores Report, which breaks down every week a business aspect of the sports industry in Africa, and definitely will hit up Jovin to start planning around 2027 AFCON in Uganda and East Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wisdom?
Somewhat like a democratic government that I believe that once it and just add the first question that was asked in terms of how can we maintain peace in Africa. I'm of the opinion that nothing is biased. Big factor and whatever people might have, you go to that nation and you meet the people, the everyday, and then you realize that not to that's one area unified that was existing quickly going. So I think at this tournament it's very important, and it is far more important than we do. Actually, change. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisdom. I don't know if it's my network, but you are breaking. We'll move to Mr. Eli. Mr. Eli, your
So thank you, Yalda, for inviting me. Nothing special to add, if not thanking also my other panelists, and also just encouraging each one of you as young people to engage. Don't wait to receive any invitation to take your place. Go ahead. And this tournament is a big audience, an opportunity for every country, even if your country is not participating. We know football is the first sport in Africa, so there's a lot to do. And so also download our app. We are on Play Store, soon on App Store. And so we hope we will build the biggest fun app for the coming event, for this one, and also for the coming event. We are adding many features. So we are happy to have your input and even interaction in the app. Thank you very much. And well, good night, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eli. As we move to our last speaker, Chioma, let's all please just turn on our videos and capture this moment in a screenshot. Chioma, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll touch on the last question that was put in the chat in my ending remarks. But yeah, thank you, Yalda, for hosting this, and my fellow panelists. It was just awesome to learn and hear from all of you. But for young people that are wanting to tap into storytelling and getting involved, I would just encourage you to make it easy for people to access your content, whether that's your social media platforms. Is it private? Is it public? Making it very clear on what your message is. Oftentimes when stories are pitched to larger brands, we're sifting through so many different pitches. So I would just say to be clear in your message, be consistent with how you're posting your content and making it easy again for people to access your content, even if it's making a simple website. Those are the things that could be helpful. But thank you again. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shoma, and thank you very much to you, our lovely audience, and our speakers for your time and attendance. As we conclude, like I said, let's please turn on our video so we can take a screenshot.
I think maybe you should remove the sharing so that the screen could be complete. Yeah.
Budani, okay, that's done. Videos, please. Tulani, please help us take a screenshot.
Am I the only one in my Botswana gear here, which means that Botswana is gonna win the AFCON? I mean, look at me, guys. Botswana.
This is called delusion. I urge you to seek medical help, please. You're in the same group as Senegal.
Who is this? Yeah, we are in the same team as Senegal. That's
You're
the
in the
first
same
game
group
and
as
we're
Senegal.
gonna win. I will be there at the stadium and we're gonna win.
Somebody, please go get Laone. Please, somebody go get your sister. I will be waiting for you outside the stadium with an ambulance.
Don't worry, even if we lose, we'll keep playing the drums.
You are all welcome here in Morocco. If you come to Morocco,
style.
let's catch up.
Yes, we're on the way. We're on our way there as we speak.
Good travel to everybody. Hope to see some of you next week. And I've dropped the link to the app as well if you guys want to start networking on the sidelines of AFCON. I had to plug.
Has the screenshot been taken?
Tulani?
Yes.
Thanks, Yalda. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Botswana for AFCON winners trophy. Woo!